Welcome once again to Commander by Danon. Today's video was brought to us by new Patreon supporter Michael. Huge thanks to Michael and the rest of my Patreon supporters. Michael reached out asking for a high-powered deck led by everyone's favorite combo enabler, Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker. If you're enjoying my content, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate the support, and if you like the deck list, consider sharing this video as well. Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker is a 5-mana 2/2 legendary goblin shaman with haste. We may tap him to create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature we control. That token has haste, but we sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker has long been a combo piece, and one of the scariest mono-colored commanders in the game, even if he is 5 mana to cast. With very little setup, we can go infinite and win the game. So if your goal is to have a fun, casual deck, this list will not be for you, gentle viewer. Before we get to our deck list, a quick word from our sponsor, Ultimate Guard. Ultimate Guard was made famous by their Boulder, which now come in these lovely two-tone boxes, allowing you to show your guild loyalty. Unless you're a filthy Dimir player who is simply disguising their deck, trying to infiltrate and learn the secrets of that most entertaining of guilds, the Rakdos. Find it if your local game store carries the new Ultimate Guard Synergy Boulders, or click on the link down below to order yourself one from Amazon. In order to build a functional commander deck, you need lots of different pieces, which is why I try to rely on my handy-dandy checklist. 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, 10 pieces of card advantage, 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal, 2 to 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, and 1 sudden I win card. One last announcement before we get into our video. In addition to streaming on Twitch, I will be streaming on Musings by Danon as well. I'm usually playing Final Fantasy XIV, but we talk about anime, manga, Commander, and food for most of the stream. Scavenger Grounds, and 33 snow-covered mountains. Trust me, there's a reason. Sol Ring, Arcane Signet, Fire Diamond, Mind Stone, Ruby Medallion, Throne of Eldraine, Thrawn Dynamo, Gauntlet of Power, Caged Sun, Extraplanar Lens, Solemn Simulacrum, Dockside Extortionist, Seething Song, Desperate Ritual, and Mana Geyser help us to ramp out and stay ahead of the curve. If you don't have the budget for a Dockside Extortionist, feel free to replace it with a Fell Warstone. Demand Answers, Humble Defector, Highway Robbery, Imperial Recruiter, Thrill of Possibility, Big Score, Unexpected Windfall, Jeska's Will, Wheel of Misfortune, Seasoned Pyromancer, and the Immortal Sun helps to dig through our deck and keep our hands full. Blood Moon, Magus of the Moon, Goblin Bombardment, Chaos Warp, Abrade, Flame Tongue Kabu, Meteor Golem, Pillage, Deflecting Swat, Pyroblast, Tybalt's Trickery, Wild Ricochet, Fury, and Inferno Titan help us to keep our opponents in line, especially those with greedy mana bases. Blasphemous Act and Chain Reaction help us to reset the board as needed. Zealous Conscripts, Coercive Recruiter, Combat Celebrant, Port Raiser, Helm of the Host, Splinter Twin, Dualcaster Mage, Twin Flame, Heat Shimmer, Molten Duplication, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Goblin Sharpshooter, Breath of Fury, Trumpeting Carnosaur, Siege Gang Commander, Reverberate, Reiterate, Impact Tremors, Perforos God of the Forge, Hellkite Courser, Illusionist Bracers, Rings of Brighthearth, and 1000-Year Elixir make up the core of our deck, and how we plan on winning. Now that we have our deck list, let's compare it to our checklist. 50 mana sources split between 34 lands and 16 pieces of ramp, right on target. 11 pieces of card advantage, 14 pieces of interaction, 2 board wipes, 1 piece of graveyard hate in Scavenger Grounds, several sudden I win cards, don't worry, I'm going to explain the combos, Zealous Conscripts, Coercive Recruiter, and Combat Celebrant all go infinite with our commander. No, not all three at the same time, any one of them. We tap Jiki to make a copy of Zealous Conscripts. When the copy enters the battlefield, we target Jiki with the end of the battlefield trigger. Gaining control of our commander isn't the important part. Untapping him is. We then do this any number of times, making an absurd number of copies. So long as our opponents don't have a Fog or a Rakdos Charm, we win the game. Coercive Recruiter does the same thing as Zealous Conscripts. Combat Celebrant gives us infinite attack triggers. We create a copy of Combat Celebrant, then exert it at the start of combat, giving us an additional combat step and untapping all creatures we control. Repeat until the table is dead. Port Razor also gives us infinite combat steps. We've also got Thornbite Staff and Goblin Bombardment in the deck. Thornbite Staff must be attached to Jiki, and we need at least one other non-legendary creature on the battlefield. We tap Jiki, making a token copy of that creature, then sacrifice the copy to Goblin Bombardment, dealing 1 damage to any target. The death of the creature triggers Thornbite Staff, untapping Jiki. We can then repeat this process any number of times. Finally, we included Perforos and Impact Tremors in the off chance that our opponents have a Ghostly Prison or some other effect preventing us from attacking. We don't need to attack if we can put 10,000 Perforos triggers on the stack. But even if our commander is out of commission, we still have a Splinter Twin as a backup, as well as the combo of Dualcaster Mage and Twin Flame. We cast Twin Flame targeting any creature on the battlefield that we control. We then cast Dualcaster Mage, which resolves first as it's higher on the stack. Dualcaster Mage's end of the battlefield trigger then goes on the stack, copying Twin Flame. The new copy of Twin Flame creates a copy of Dualcaster Mage. We then create as many copies of Dualcaster Mage as we want, all of them with haste, and win the game. Do you have a Jiki Mirror Breaker deck? What route did you take your deck? Leave a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cutestuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. You can have a video made, or just ask for help building or tuning a deck list. As promised, here is the explanation for what's going on with my Patreon. For the past 2 years, I've been building deck lists for patrons. I started out only making 3 videos a week, but soon upped it to 5. I've not been perfect, I'll be the first to admit that, but I do try to make my patrons a deck they'll like. But I put a limit of 20 patrons on my commander tier, because there's only so much time in the month. Each video takes between 3 to 4 hours to make. From building the initial deck list to scripting and then recording audio is about a day and a half of labor. I then hand it over to Cutestuff to edit. This is a long, drawn-out process, and there's only so much time in the month. And every week, I get at least one message asking me when a spot will open up on my Patreon. Well, that time is today. Actually, it was a week ago since I make my videos in advance and schedule them in the future. Anyway, we split the commander tier in 2. There's now a lower cost commander tier where I make a deck for you. This tier will not have a limit, and anyone who joins up will get 1 deck list per month. But if you want a video on your deck, it will be the same tier as my anime and manga video tier. Now, those videos will be longer, with a more in-depth explanation of the deck. There's a rule in business. When you run out of time because you have too many customers, you increase your price. This will, unfortunately, cause some of your customers to cancel. This is regrettable but necessary if you want to make content creation a full-time career. I've had more fulfillment and fun doing content creation than any job I've ever had. but I didn't even break $3,000 last year from YouTube earnings. This is why you see so many YouTubers pushing their Patreon. I also want to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Danny, Muffins, Marcus, Squishy, Brett, Roxy, Sean, Pob Zombie, Mark, Borky, Nazwin, Pedro, Midge, Alex, Julio, Valeri, Conga, Ignis, RJ, Aaron, Chris, Robert, Joel, Brock, and Michael. You guys are awesome. I post new Commander Deck videos every weekday, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.